Good morning. I didn't really know how to do this video, so I put it off and put it off, and I figure I just need to do what I do and sit here and talk when I just don't really coherently know what I'm going to say about this. So I'm gonna divide this into like two videos. But recently I was watching these Super Bowl trailers for the upcoming films, and it put me in a lot of despair because I've been an avid moviegoer for so many years. Movies literally became my life. They became my career. And I thought that 2024 was just a really bad year for it because we had the strikes go on. We still had the Hollywood in chaos. And I just thought that that's just going to be a bad year where a lot of things got moved over. We did have some surprises, of course, of films that turned out. But I thought, just wait till 2025 and there'll be good stuff again. And that was really keeping me going in the midst of 2024 being the worst year of movies that I've ever experienced. But now that I see the lineup of films and we've gotten a lot of marketing for them in 2025, I think 2025 is lined up to be an even worse year than 2024. In fact, it brings me back to what I was saying back in 2023. Is Hollywood going to die? Is this the end for it? Are they just never going to be able to dig themselves out of this pit? Because what do we got for this year? Superman. And look, you all know that I was not thrilled with that Superman trailer. And believe it or not, as much as the trolls would like to believe, I would never lie about how I feel about a trailer. If I was loving these things, I would be thrilled. It might even pick up even more views if I was coming out thrilled with these trailers. I was not thrilled with the first Superman trailer. It kind of met me of what I thought it was going to be. It's the same thing I've seen over and over again with superhero movies. And it's the same thing I've ever seen from James Gunn. It's nothing different. It didn't wow me. But it's getting worse as the marketing for it goes on because, and a lot of people are saying this, it's kind of proving that WB doesn't have any money left over to market their films because they didn't buy a spot for Superman at the Super Bowl, which I think is a very foolish idea. But, it's very expensive to get a trailer or even a spot. I think a TV spot at the Super Bowl costs like $1 million each, and a trailer costs $3 million. Very expensive. Apparently, WB couldn't afford it or something. And so what they get is this post online of Guy Gardner saying, "The only bowl I need." And it looks like a CW spot. And it just looks so terrible. And the suit that he's wearing looks terrible. And I know that they say, well, he's supposed to be a silly character. But it's like all of the characters in the movie look with that overly textured leather look. We'll get to that later. But anyway, they choose to advertise Guy Gardner in a Dumb and Dumber haircut for the Superman movie. And I'm like, that's a novel idea. Not marketing the Superman movie with Superman, but with a Green Lantern that most people don't even know about. And to go, oh, isn't he just so quirky? He's got the bowl cut. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that's exactly what I expected from James Gunn and why I didn't want him involved with this movie or anything other than his quirky little D-list character stuff that he does. This is James Gunn's problem. And someone even shared a quote with of James Gunn saying, "I love superheroes. They're also the dumbest thing that ever existed." Like, he's just so obsessed with the silly side of superheroes and the D-list comic book aspects of it. And there's a place for that, obviously, but it doesn't work for a Superman film, and I think that's what led to him deciding, I'm going to market a Superman film with not Superman, but the D-list character I think is kind of quirky that I put in my Superman movie. And everything else in the marketing for Superman has been like crypto and been all that quirky stuff, and it's like, that is why James Gunn was a bad idea for a Superman movie. And just going on with the Superman marketing, like they did that little, like there was at least a lot of online hype when the trailer dropped, but then they did that spot with Superman in it since then, and that got all the controversy about how it looks really weird, his eyes look like they're darting in different directions. Like that's been a lot of conversation about the Superman movie. It just looks terrible. I don't know that it just looks terrible, it just looks like a modern film, and people, it's the same way that people got into their heads that widescreen is cinematic, even though it's not. It was actually because they couldn't crop their films properly to format to both TVs and theater. But people started to associate widescreen as meaning something cinematic and something's good, having those bars on it. People now associate the look of modern films, or at least I do, with bad filmmaking, and that's why I'm resentful of it. But it's just been some really bad marketing for Superman. And you have to remember, Superman is at risk. I think that it's going to at least get something at the box office just solely because it's Superman. That's still an iconic name everyone knows, and there's not really, and they've got nothing else to watch. But remember, a Superman movie has never hit $700 million even. There is so much baggage with DC films, and these spots are not helping the film at all, especially when they refuse to even market Superman. But if you weren't, just because... tired of James Gunn. I'm tired of him from Superman, and he's not fitting for that. But at the same time, like, you go over to Thunderbolts, and it's just the James Gunn-esque humor. He has infected everything. Thunderbolts is gonna bomb. That's it. Thunderbolts is gonna bomb. It doesn't matter if the movie actually turns out good or not. Thunderbolts is gonna bomb. Why? Because it's a bunch of F-list characters no one cares about. No one cares about Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. No one cares about not Taskmaster. For heaven's sake, no one cares about Red Guardian. They are trying to do this Guardians of the Galaxy Suicide Squad recreating James Gunn humor trailer with it. None of the jokes are funny. I felt like a laugh track needed to play beside them.
This team can be the heroes on the Wheaties box.
They're really just trying to lean into the quirkiness of it, and it's like this absolutely gray movie, but they're trying to make it a comedy. If you're gonna make it a comedy, at least give it some color. It looks awful. It looks like everything we've seen before with Guardians of the Galaxy style rip-off humor, and none of the characters are things people care about. And once again, it's like it's all the same. Similar to like Mission Impossible from Tom Cruise. Like, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning was good, but it was also the same thing we had seen before. And now Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning, that's gonna bomb too, because it looks like the exact same thing we have gotten from Tom Cruise and his Mission Impossible films over and over again. I can't distinguish it from the last film. It looks the exact same. The only marketing at the Super Bowl I thought was any good was perhaps Lilo and Stitch, but that's because they're basing it off of the marketing from the 90s and that pop culture fourth wall breaking stuff. But to think that like the biggest movies these year, maybe How to Train Your Dragon live action remake or Lilo and Stitch live action remake, are things that people are purely going to see off of name recognition like Mufasa. I will never forgive people for making that movie successful. It just is such a bleak. It's like the last thing you have is just people going to see something to go to see something. And I think that a lot of money is left on the table because I do believe that people would go see more movies if there was something that truly interests them, and that these companies are just getting the lowest hanging fruit from the remaining audiences that are just going to go see things based on name recognition, similar to Jurassic World Rebirth, which is like the 7th Jurassic Park movie that is just recreating the first Jurassic Park movie to a lesser extent. And they even use the Suicide Squad tagline in it.
The worst of the worst. The worst of the worst.
It's all the same from Hollywood. You know, the one thing that Hollywood might be changing on is after years of people screaming, keep politics out of movies and stuff, it seems that they might have finally gotten the picture with that in terms of the mainstream stuff. But that doesn't matter because politics itself was never necessarily the problem. The problem was having hack creators behind the scenes work on these things who can't write. And that is still the problem going into the future. Like, James Gunn cannot be your only filmmaker. He cannot be your only filmmaking inspiration. He is mid! For goodness sakes, James Gunn is not Steven Spielberg. He is mid. He does not have a lot of range. He is doing the same thing over and over again, and that other films are taking inspiration from him. Are there any new filmmakers out there that you fostered up? Anyone with a new creative vision that you could bring to these properties? Fantastic Four does not have a new creative vision with that whole 60s retro futuristic stuff. No, Remember interviews from Kevin Feige and his inspiration for WandaVision, that he was watching a lot of old sitcoms, like Dick Van Dyke, to help him get by through the tough years recently, and that's what inspired WandaVision. And you also see that style with Loki, and now you see that style with Fantastic Four. It's not new, it's not fresh, it's not a director's creative vision, it's an acquired taste that Kevin Feige has got, and he's putting it on everything, and it doesn't feel new. You've done it before. Hollywood cannot make anything new. They're not run by creatives. They're just run by these executives who make these cookie cutter things to the lowest common denominator. And it seems that they just cannot dig themselves out of that pit. So I just look at these future movies coming out, and I think all of these might flop, I think Jurassic World might get some money because people have proven that they won't not go see a movie because it says Jurassic Park. I think Superman maybe just because it's Superman, but you have to remember that a Superman movie has never made $700 million even in the best of times. Even if it's good, Fantastic Four is at serious risk to bomb, because even though there are some Marvel fans who come out and will say that everything that they are seeing is the greatest thing ever, which is just a leftover from the hype culture from the 2010s around comic book films that isn't really there anymore, there was not a lot of hype and fanfare over that trailer. It did not wow people. There was no big hook to it. All of the actors and actresses cast for it are about 10 to 15 years too old. We've seen that style before. It's not exciting people. Fantastic Four has 2 flop franchises behind it and a Marvel Cinematic Universe that can only sell films if it's on the top, like Wolverine and Deadpool or Spider-Man No Way Home. Anything that is not their A-listers has been flopping. And so it's like Fantastic Four is not their A-list. They don't have that cultural relevance because they haven't treated those characters well. That movie, even if it's good, is at serious risk to flop, ladies and gentlemen. I think that people need to be aware of this. So this just puts me in just despair over the movie industry. If we're really being honest about it, it all looks really bad, or it all looks really at risk. This is like the darkest times that the movie industry has ever gone in, and I'm getting really tired of these out-of-touch CEOs just turning out slop, and this being the representation of what movies are, when they're not. There's not going to be anyone inspired to make movies from this generation because all the movies look like garbage, and they're the same thing over and over again from the same tired-out filmmakers with no vision anymore, and the same tired out CEOs who never had any vision in the first place. And I'm going to have a part 2 to this video because I want to talk about how Hollywood is just deathly terrified of making any actor or actress just look flattering in their movies, and that's going to be a part 2 to this. But in the meantime, what do you think of this video? Do you disagree? Do you think that all of these movies are at risk to flop like I do? Check out my own short films in the link in the description, or if you want to support my work, check out my Patreon page, as other people have done. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time.